Well, howdy there, Internet students. It's Mr. Hermanson again. Say we're going to continue on lesson 3.2a here, which is percent increase and decrease. And today we're going to talk about how do you mark something up or make it go up by a percent, or how do you mark something down or make it go down by a percent. Okay, so and I have some information that you're going to like when you're working on these problems. So some of you have a little bit of an idea how to do something like this. So let's say we go to a store and we buy a DVD for $219, and then we got to pay sales tax of 6.5% on that. Actually, sales tax is a little higher than that right now, but we'll go with that. Um, so so to get 6.5% of this price, one way you could do it is let that 219 be the whole, and you have your percent over 100. And then the part you're looking for here is the 6.5%, the tax. So this is the tax. Now, if you are computing your final price, you have to do one more step. You have to add them together. Well, I'm going to make a suggestion, and then I'll give you the reasons why you might want to do this. If you want to save yourself a step, think about increasing 219 by 6.5%. So marking it up by 6.5%. Okay. Now you can do that by simply thinking about your original 219 as 100% plus an extra 6.5%. So if you want to just get the final price all at one shot, just use the 100 plus 6.5% for your percent. Now when you calculate this proportion, you're going to get the 6.5% added on, so you won't have to do that extra step. Now it's important that you understand that, because sometimes you want to work backwards and figure out what the original price was, so you have to understand that the price includes the 100%. Okay? A similar thing works with discounts. Now, before I move on and do the rest of these problems, and I'm going to come back and because I think I have a pretty cool shortcut for you guys to use on this, I just want to go through a lesson that will help you understand why we're doing this. Okay, so let's move on to the next page, and I'm going to ask that you fill in the charts, and I'm going to show you a really cool way to do that. Okay, now if you're increasing something by 25%, like I said before, one way you could do it is figure out what 25% of this number is and then add it on. So adding 25%. Now I'm going to suggest that you think of this as 100% plus 25%. So your new amount will be 125%. Now your new amount is the part, and the original amount is the whole. So, so one thing I know about that is whenever you're finding the part, it's a multiplication problem. So here's the multiplication I'm going to do to get this problem, this answer. I'm going to take my 56 times 125% as a decimal, which is just moving the decimal over 2 places. And when I do that, I get my original 100% already in there. In other words, this $56. So I don't have to do that additional step of adding it on. Okay. Now, also doing this helps you when you want to work backwards, because when you work backwards, you have to understand that that 100% is in there. So I'm going to do one more with you, and then I'm going to let you finish these up. To get this, well, I'm going to show you how you get this 14. Okay. It's a 75% increase. So it includes this 8, which remember that the original is 100%. If you don't go up at all, you just stay at the original, you're staying at 100%. So, to get this 14, I want 175% of the original. So I'm going to take 8 times 1.75. Okay, and you'll see that that equals 14. On this number 2, I want my original 100% plus an extra 50%, so I'm going to multiply by 1.5. And when I do that, 6 times 1.5, well, 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 times a half is 3. So I'm going to get 9. I'm going to get my new amount, which includes my original 100% plus my extra 50%. Go ahead and fill in the rest of those in that table, and then and we'll check and see if you're doing. And please use the shortcut I'm suggesting. All right, let's talk about the process here. So remember, you have 100% is what you're starting with. You want an extra 20%, so that makes 120%. The decimal for 120% is 1.20. So multiplying by 1.20 increases it by 6%. On number 5, you should be multiplying by 1.90. On 6, you should be multiplying by 1.70. On 7, 2% is actually 0.02, so multiply by 1.202 increases it by 2%. Now here's something interesting. If you want to increase it by 100%, so you have 100% to start with, you add those together and that gives you 200%. Well, the decimal for 200% is 2. So you have to multiply that by 2.00 or 2. And that would have given you 42. So let's go ahead and review what we did here. So to get this number here, this 1.90, take your percent that your increase, so your increase percent, and change it to a decimal. Mathematically, that's divide by 100 and add 1. And that'll give you the number you multiply by. So let's call this the multiplier. Okay. All right. Now, what if we want to know what the percent increase is? So let's look for a shortcut there. Well, if you remember from the lesson, you would take your original amount and your new amount and subtract them, find the difference. So 56 minus 32 is 24, and that's your part, and then your whole is the original amount, so 24 out of 32. Well, my shortcut would be just divide 24 by 32. And then move the decimal over 2 places, which mathematically is multiply by 100. Okay? So, so this is a 75% increase. So let's do one more. I'm going to do 18 minus 15 to figure out how much I've gone up, and that's 3. That's my part. My whole is 15, so I'm going to do 3 divided by 15, which is 0.20, and then move the decimal over 2 places, so that's a 20% increase. Go ahead and finish up that row. All right, let's review that real quick. To find the percent increase, all we did was find the difference between them, and we divided by the original. All right, and then we just changed that decimal into a percent. So we could say multiply by 100 to get that. All right, now let's talk about decrease, percent decrease. Okay, so our original amount, again, that's 100%. Okay, if we decrease by a certain percent, we're actually going to have less than the original. In fact, I'm going to tell you, so think about what you have, that your new amount in this first problem will be 70% of the original. So really what I want to do is figure out what 70% of 50 is. Now to do that, I can just multiply by the decimal for 70%. So 50 times 0.70 equals 35. Okay, so think about what percent you're left with here. So if I take away 50% of my original 100%, that's going to leave me with 50%. So my answer should be 50% of the original, which that's the same as a half, right? So half of 18 is 9. Okay. I'm going to take 4% away from my 25%. Again, think of this as 100%, your original. You take away 4%. 100 minus 4 is 96%. So let's write this work up here. 100% minus whatever percent your decrease is. Okay. So I want 96%, and the decimal for 96% is 0.96. So I'm going to do my original amount, 25 times 0.96, and that's actually going to take away 4%. So my new amount is 24. All right, you do the rest of those, and let's see if you get them right. All right, here's the answers you should be looking at. And again, to get the number you multiply by, you do 100% minus whatever percent you're taking away. So in this one, it's going to be 65%, which is 0.65. And this one is going to be 0.85. And this one is going to be 0.25 because you're taking away 75% and so on. Let's just quickly summarize what we just learned there. When you're doing a percent decrease, take 1 minus whatever percent you have divided by 100. And that'll be your multiplier. All right, now what if we're just trying to figure out what percent our decrease is? Again, we got to figure out how much we've dropped. So we're going to do 20 minus 19 here, which is 1. We've gone down 1. 1 is my part. My original is the whole. So I'm going to do 1 divided by 20, which is 0.05, which then move the decimal over 2 places. That's a 5% decrease. Okay. If I go from 14 down to 7, 14 minus 7 is 7. 7 is my part, 14 is my whole. Well, we can see that's half, so 50% decrease. The way you get 10% here is you do 90 minus 81. That means you went down 9. 9 out of 90 is the same as 10% when you change it to a decimal. Go ahead and finish those up. Here's the answers I got for that. Let's go ahead and summarize that. So you're going to find your difference, and you're going to divide that by the original. And then you're going to change that decimal into a percent by moving it over 2 places. Mathematically, that's multiplying it by 100. All right, so let's go back and see how this information can help us on those original problems that we were looking at. Back 2 pages here. What if I want to do a discount of $39.99, and then I want to add 4% sales tax? So this is a decrease here. So I want to minus 15, and then I want to add 4%. Well, from the lesson we learned that if you want to take off 15%, you multiply by 100 minus 15, which is 85%, because you're paying 85% of the price. And then to add 4% sales tax, that means that you are going to be your 100% of your discounted price plus your 4% sales tax means 104%, while the decimal for that is 1.04. So here's how I would do this price. I would take my $39.99 times 0.85. That's going to give me my 15% off. I get that answer. And then to add 4% sales tax, I'm going to multiply by 1.04. And I'll round it to the nearest cent. That's 35 $5.35. All right, so you guys try one here. So discounting 5%, so you want to think, oh, that means I'm paying 95% of the price because I'm taking 5% off. And then sales tax will be my 100% discounted price plus an extra 5% added on. So that's 105%. So my multipliers are 0.95 for a 5% discount and 1.05 for sales tax. And doing all that work, go ahead and do that and see what you get. Rounded to the nearest cent is $19.90. Here's the math. Take your price of your book times 0.95 to get 5% off times 1.05 to get sales tax. Now something interesting here, and we'll talk about why this is. Some of you might think that it should just even out. The reason it doesn't is because the discounted price is less than the original. So adding 5% back on, you're doing 5% of a lower price, which you know is going to be a lower amount. So go ahead and do number 12. Just add 7% by multiplying by the number that will make it go up by 7%. See if you get it right. I'll show you my work. All right, here's what I get. And just to kind of go over this math again, when you're trying to get your price of your tickets plus your sales tax, that means you need this original 100% in your price. And then you need an extra 7%. Well, multiplying by 1 gives you your original. Any number by 1 is the number back again. And multiplying by 0.07 gives you the extra. So it's really doing two things in one. All right, so you're going to try some practice problems and try and use these shortcuts. Maybe you need to review our summary of our notes. Good luck with that. We'll talk to you soon.